When Ethan returned home that evening, everything felt slightly off. The living room lights were dimmed, and a faint scent of cologne, one that wasn't his, lingered in the air. He set his briefcase down quietly, listening. From upstairs, he heard a soft laugh, his wife Mia's voice mixing with another man's. His heart froze. For a few seconds, he stood motionless, every breath burning his chest. Then, as reality sank in, something inside him broke, not with anger, but with a calm so cold it frightened him. Ethan walked out of the house without a sound. He drove aimlessly through the quiet streets, his thoughts spinning in chaos. The woman he had trusted for 12 years, the one he built a life with, was betraying him in the very home they shared. Every memory, their wedding, their late-night talks, the promises, suddenly felt hollow. But as he drove, an idea began to form. Revenge would not be loud or violent. It would be quiet, sharp, and unforgettable. The next morning, he acted as though nothing had happened. Mia greeted him nervously, pretending everything was normal, her hair still wet from the shower, her eyes avoiding his. He smiled faintly, kissed her forehead, and told her he'd be late that evening for work. She believed him. Of course she did. He had never given her a reason not to. That day, Ethan visited his lawyer and quietly began preparing divorce papers. But that wasn't all. He also transferred ownership of their house, which was in his name, into his sister's. Mia wouldn't see it coming. He wasn't going to shout or expose her. He was going to let her trap herself in her own lies. By nightfall, Ethan returned home early. He parked his car down the street and walked the last few steps silently. Through the half-open curtains, he could see shadows moving in the living room. His wife and her lover, sitting on the very couch they bought together, laughing softly. His heart twisted, but his expression remained cold. He took out his phone and recorded a few seconds, not for revenge online, but for proof. Then he left again, unseen. The following morning, Mia woke up to find Ethan already gone. On the kitchen counter lay a note in his handwriting. "I know everything. You'll understand soon." Panic set in. She tried calling him, but he didn't answer. She drove to his office, only to find out he had taken the day off. Unease began to grow like a storm inside her. When she returned home, a man in a suit stood at the door with legal documents. "Mrs. Carter?" he asked. "These are for you." Her hands shook as she opened the envelope. Divorce papers, full of details, including her affair. The evidence was undeniable. But what stunned her most was the last page. The house was no longer in their name. Ethan had taken everything legally, quietly, completely. That night, Ethan stayed at a hotel. He thought about the life he was leaving behind. The laughter, the warmth, the trust. It all felt like watching someone else's story. There was pain, yes, but also relief. For the first time in months, he felt free from the pretense. He didn't need to confront her. She would destroy herself with guilt and loss. Mia tried to reach him for days, sending messages full of apologies, tears, and promises to change. Ethan never replied. Instead, he arranged for movers to collect his belongings while she was out. When she returned to an empty closet and a silent house, reality finally crashed down on her. The walls that once held love now felt like a prison. Her lover, realizing the situation, quickly disappeared from her life. Without money, without the home, and without the man she betrayed, Mia found herself standing in the ruins of her choices. She had thought she was clever, sneaking around behind Ethan's back. But she underestimated the calmness of a man who had been quietly planning his exit. Weeks passed, and Ethan's life slowly found balance. He moved into a smaller apartment, started running again, and even reconnected with old friends he had neglected during his marriage. People noticed the change in him. Quieter, wiser, more distant, but at peace. The pain hadn't vanished, but it had shaped him into someone stronger. Mia, meanwhile, spiraled through regret. Every corner of her old life reminded her of Ethan, his patience, his laughter, his gentle ways. She realized too late that what she had destroyed wasn't just trust, It was the only person who ever truly cared for her. She wrote letters that she never sent, each one more desperate than the last. Months later, Ethan received one of those letters, delivered accidentally by mail. He opened it out of curiosity. It was full of sorrow, apologies, and memories. But he didn't cry. Instead, he folded it neatly and placed it in a drawer, a reminder of how far he had come. Ethan never sought revenge to humiliate her. His revenge was silent, leaving her to live with what she had done, stripped of the comfort she once took for granted. In the end, the quiet man she betrayed became the storm she could never escape. And as he looked out the window one last time, Ethan smiled faintly, whispering to himself, "Peace is the best revenge."